The Sweet Sound of Success show is brought to you by the Mentor Studio. The Mentor Studio is an exclusive mentoring and training program for social influencers, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and startups, bringing personal development to the underserved around the world. And brought to you by Success Strategists. Simple strategies that work to develop your business with flow and ease using proven strategies and the right tactics. This is the Sweet Sound of Success with Sue Wilhite, Profit Attraction Master. Jill Lublin is a 4 times best-selling author, international speaker, and master publicity expert. She helps authors get book deals and teaches a virtual Publicity Crash Course. Her books include Guerrilla Publicity and The Profit of Kindness, which went #1 in 4 different categories. Please welcome my dear friend, Jill Lublin.
Thank you. It's delightful to be here.
I'm so happy that you were able to make time to do this. This is so cool. And Jill and I go way back, way back. And so for my viewers and listeners, I just want to tell you a little bit about how this show is structured in the interview. And it's based on Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. Now, we're not doing all 16 steps in the cycle. We're only doing 5, because otherwise we'd be here all day for many people. And so those 5 steps that we're going to cover are Jill's ordinary beginning. Nobody's ordinary. The call to action, the big hairy monsters that you got to play with, the allies, the coaches, the guides, the mentors, the secret Santas that helped, because we can't do it by ourselves as entrepreneurs. I want to bust that myth as many times as I can. And finally, what Joseph Campbell calls the journey home. And the journey home is when we become entrepreneurs, other people in our lives may not have done that, and they might have some different reactions to that. And it's always fun to talk to entrepreneurs about how other people who aren't react to this new and different way of being. So, Jill, what was your ordinary beginning?
Oh, well, like you said, nobody's really ordinary, but I felt pretty ordinary. I was just shy. Seriously shy, honestly. I know you don't believe it. But I was very shy, and came from a highly dysfunctional family who didn't really get who I was. Neither did I at the time. And, la-di-da around, that really was my ordinary beginnings, blue collar family. I'm the first one to go to college, that kind of thing. It was, really, kind of a Midwestern upbringing, good values, and, decent people. Just, I wouldn't say it was breeding the kind of person that I wanted to become.
Right. So what propelled you into this? What was the call to action?
I think for me, in a way, I practice what I preach, really. I mean, I had to develop myself, really. I didn't really have good parental kind of guidance,
Right.
So
no good models.
Yeah, no real good models. I found myself, I overcame the shyness with actually a lot of jumping into activities, and becoming the leader I am now was really kind of test driven by doing it in high school and joining youth groups. And I always probably had that part in me. It's just, it got developed. I think I'm sort of like the lotus flower. I think most of us are, really, is that I really blossomed. I think later in life, and it actually started with my spiritual work. It started with taking transformational classes and personal development classes where I really had to look at all this stuff and go, wait, who am I really choosing to become?
Right, right. Yes. And that's so incredibly important. I mean, that you're speaking to my heart, Jill, as you know, because that's where I always start with my clients. It's like, who are you? What do you want? What's going on? You can't get from here to there unless you know where here is.
Right.
Right.
Right. And then the question is, who do you want to be? And of course, being in the world of public relations, I understand imaging and perception. And guess what? All of life is. The question is, what image and projection would you like to have? That's about choosing to be happy. That's about choosing to be the leader in your field that you are, right? Whatever it is for each one of us. I do think we make some choices, and some people's personalities, allow certain choices. But that's why I tell you that I'm shy, because no, you wouldn't have guessed that. And I was. So I think it's important that people understand that you can overcome things, that you can be willing to take next actions to be a better fill in the blank, whatever it is for each one of us.
Right, right. One of my teachers, who you might know, Scout Bartlett, said, before things can change, they need to be not the same.
Okay, I have to think about that one.
Right? Well, people want to change. They say they want to change. They feel like they want to change, but they want things to be the same but different. And they can't. You can't do that.
Yeah, well, listen, I think most of us we kind of get stagnant. I had a teacher called it ground hamburger meat. Like, how often do you want to repeat what your past was, or would you like to create something new? It's a similar concept, right?
Right.
And he was actually a famous TV personality and singer and all this. She said, I can sit here and tell you about my great past, but what's that really mean now? Who am I now?
Exactly. And that probably is a big hairy monster for a bunch of people, is struggling with that and dealing with that. And so what were some of the ones that you feel like mentioning? Because sometimes those hairy monsters, we may have locked them back in the closet, but we don't want to talk about them in public. But what kind of hairy monsters did you play with?
Well, I tell you, feeling good enough. Was I worthy? Especially as my first book came out, Guerrilla Publicity. I remember going to the Barnes and Noble for a book signing, and there on the window was my poster, like a life size. And I'm like, oh my God, because part of me felt, like those little chicks when they hatch out of an egg, they go peek, 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 peek. Yeah. And all of a sudden they burst out and they fall on the floor. That's kind of actually how I felt. And it forced me in a certain way to level up, because I think some things in life will, in a way, force you to level up, to be the greatest you can be. And sometimes you just keep doing them and do it till you get it right. And then you do, even if you don't get it right, you're doing it anyway. And I think for me, I'm always willing, I'll say, and sometimes, you got to kind of harness me in, but or sometimes drag me along. But I am willing to try some things, right? Even though I'm scared, even though, right? And so being scared is one of my hairy monsters, just like all of us. And listen, I'm doing a publicity challenge right now. I've never done a publicity challenge. I'm scared a little bit, I must admit. And there's part of me that's like, I don't know what to do. What I've learned, though, even with the hairy monsters, like, I'm not worthy enough, which I went into therapy. I dealt with it. I did different workshops. It still comes up for me at times. I think for all of us, if we're honest, it's like, am I good enough to do this? And what I realize is I'm good enough to do this. So I'm as good as I'm going to get right now. Right.
Right. And it's all about leveling yourself up. And every time you take that new step, you're pushing your boundaries farther. So of course you're scared.
Yeah, here's what I've discovered. in life. You know, people say, "Oh, Jill, I'm scared to work with you." I'm like, great, definitely sign up, because what I've noticed for me is when I'm scared a little bit to work with someone, or there's something that scares me about whatever it is, that's my growth edge.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I've just learned to recognize that.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So you answered your call to action. You're now a brilliant publicist. You take people from 0 to $1 million, not necessarily in dollars, but certainly you really ramp up their image. You answered your call to action. You played with your big hairy monsters, but you didn't do that by yourself, right? Who were some of the guides and mentors? How did you integrate that into your entrepreneurship?
So one of the things that I've learned is you always have to be growing. Just like I'm a mentor for many, a publicity mentor. Guess what? People are mentors for me, and I've dabbled in multiple, and certainly always invested in many coaches and guides. Right now, I actually have three coaches, because I believe in staying, in a way, for me, accountable and boxed in for what I say I want. Like, I want people around me going, "Did you do that? Are you connected? How about this?" Right? They're showing me other things that maybe I didn't think of before. And I think that's really important. So I definitely keep myself invested in mastermind programs and coaching. And then on a personal level, as far as my own development, I think it started, funny enough, with LifeSpring. I don't know if some of you might remember LifeSpring. Yes.
Yes, that was me too.
Yes, and it was great. And it really helped me with some of my personal stuff that I had to realign, let's just call it, within myself. And actually some of it to let go of. And, life is a continuous process, I think, of letting go, of forgiveness, of places that, things could have been better. I mean, my mom, I had a lot of hairy monsters with my mom, and to the point, even, up to her death, where I was actually the only one who took care of her for 7 years, because no one else in the family would talk to her. So that's how intense she was. Now, the truth is, I did a lot of my own personal work to be able to deal with her and to love her and to let her just be her, no matter what, right? And I think there's, and that came, by the way, from being in a transformational workshop similar to Forum, but entrepreneurial oriented, which I loved. And so there I am doing my entrepreneurial work, healing my relationship with my mother. I just think it's interesting in life, the different opportunities when you're willing to be open. And I think that's a big thing for me, is I'm willing to be open and receive help and say yes to support. And by the way, Sue, that took me a long time. I was really a lone ranger, and I'm fine. I'm doing it. Yeah, right. I'm fine. I'm doing it all by myself, right? And then guess what? I fell and fractured and broke both ankles at once in multiple places. Why? Because Lone Ranger was not going to work for that.
Right. Ow.
Yeah. It's a bit of that. God gave me a bonk over the head.
Yes.
It's that thing about, if you don't get your lessons, they're just going to keep coming. So at that point, I had to say yes to help. And from that point on, I have really sought out support in much bigger ways than I ever said yes to before. And support looks like coaches, consultants, helpers, spiritual consultants. I do a lot of different things. And that circle for me is key in my own development.
Nice. And, I'm going to circle back just a tiny bit to something that you said earlier about working with your mom and healing your relationship while you were doing the entrepreneurial stuff. And it occurred to me that people have this very weird idea that life can be broken up into, here's my work and here's my life, or here's my entrepreneurial endeavors, and then there's the rest of my life. and never the twain shall meet. And really, you're in the middle of that. You're in both. You can't separate you as a person that's not somebody different in either of those places. It's you in both.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't think so. I mean, I am who I am in my personal life and my business life, and hopefully it is one and the same. And I think, listen, I've worked with a lot of people, and sometimes they are different, who they project, and then what's behind the curtain, so to speak. And sometimes it's not pretty, and what I learned from that was that I want to be congruent and consistent. And, so I think that's a piece of life, is choosing who you want to be. And that, yes, one thing can teach you about something else.
Yes.
And, be open to the lessons in life of who's saying what, and what does that spark in you?
Right, exactly. And sort of tying that into our next segment, which is about the journey home. So how did folks react to you going out and being in the world and having your own business and becoming a hotshot publicist?
Yeah, so it's funny. My father never knew what I did. And because I actually went to law school, and I actually dropped out of law school in the first year. That was for me a bit of a failure, a hairy monster, because I always wanted to be an attorney. I thought that was going to be something that would save the world.
Yes.
And then I got to law school. So it just, for me, that was not a right fit, right? And literally dropped out after the first year, which felt like a big failure to me. And again, remember, I was the first one to go to college, right? And now to law school, and I was going to make something of myself, except I did, just not this. It was not the original trajectory I thought. And I remember my father saying, when I dropped out, he's like, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to be an entrepreneur." And he said, "What is that? And how do you spell it?"
Right.
I'm still figuring I'm still figuring out what it is, but I do know how to spell it.
Okay.
That's 1 out of 2. But it is a journey. It is a journey. And I think as we are willing to take the journey and to know that life evolves, right? When I get to the top of one mountain, so writing my first book, Guerrilla Publicity, guess what? Next mountain, what am I going to do next? Second book, right? Now, 4 books later, new mountains to climb now. So one thing is, I think, as you're on top of one mountain, and we all have our mountains, it doesn't have to look like a book. It can look like anything, having a child, and a celebration in your life of any kind. The question is, then what? I mean, enjoying that, and then what? And I am a kind of a then what kind of person, meaning I'm looking ahead. I want to create what's next. I'm excited about that. And that scares me too, which is good, right? But I am not a sit and enjoy it all, like lollygag in my laurels, or whatever that expression is, right? I do think it's important to keep growing, to keep going, to keep evolving.
Right. And absolutely, if you're not growing, you're dying. I mean, I've heard that from so many people. I have no idea who originally came up with that, but it's true, absolutely true. And so I understand that you have something to help my viewers and listeners evolve.
Absolutely.
Their next step.
Absolutely.
Is one of the most generous people I know. I just got to tell you, she is amazing, and you are going to be blown away with her gift. So go take it away, Jill.
Oh, thank you, Sue. So what I've created is a publicity action guide, a no-nonsense, spill more great publicity secrets to help you get your name out there, create visibility, and get the attention you deserve. So also there is an invitation to a free publicity masterclass, which is live and interactive with me. So definitely join me in both those, and you go to publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift, and it's posted there under Sue, and me.
Yay. Oh, that's wonderful. I got to tell you, that course is valuable, and also get her books. Her books are amazing. Guerrilla Publicity is, yep, there we go. And Networking Magic and Get Noticed, Get Referrals. Oh my goodness, those right there are like an MBA in getting yourself out there. And the Profit of Kindness is exactly what it sounds like. You be good to others and they give you stuff. It's really amazing. It's karma points, right? I tell people 2 million karma points for that one, because it comes back to you when you are nice, and when you're congruently nice. I got to say, just putting out a false face of niceness and being horrible underneath just doesn't work. But when you're congruently nice, it comes back. It just does. And Jill's book talks all about that. And there's a reason that it went to #1 really fast, because it's a great book.
Yeah, well, kindness really matters now. And I think everybody needs more of it. And I want everybody to practice a conscious act of kindness every single day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a challenge. There's a challenge for us. Well, thank you, Jill. Bless you for being on the show. Thank you so much for making time to do this. I have looked forward to this for so long. This is great.
Thank you, Sue. You're amazing, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. And thank you to my viewers and listeners of The Sweet Sound of Success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action coaching program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action coaching program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.